The Venezuelan government denounced the government of Trinidad and Tobago for orchestrating a military provocation plan aimed at destabilizing the Caribbean in alliance with the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency. The president of Guatemala, Arevalo, denounces an attempted coup in the country and blames the criminal alliance that exists in the public prosecutor's office and the judicial system. And Hurricane Melissa remains a Category 4 storm as it moves through the Central Caribbean Sea towards Jamaica and Cuba. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin the news. Venezuela denounced the government of Trinidad and Tobago for orchestrating a military provocation plan aimed at destabilizing the Caribbean in alliance with the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency. The strategy, as outlined in the executive report, appears to be a deliberate attempt to create a justification for military aggression against Venezuela. This would represent a blatant violation of the Caribbean people's sovereignty and peace. In this context, the Venezuelan authorities urged the international community to maintain a firm stance against the interventionist actions of the United States against the countries of the region, which, under the excuse of combating drug trafficking, have attacked fishing boats from various Caribbean countries. The denunciation emphasizes Venezuela's willingness to defend its territorial integrity and its right to self-determination in the face of a new U.S. interventionist maneuver. And the current government of Trinidad and Tobago's collaboration with the militarization of the Caribbean by U.S. forces leaves the country increasingly isolated in a region that demands peace and respect for international law. Governments and peoples of Caribbean countries have denounced the intimidating maneuvers of the Department of War and the constant threat against the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. The influential Trinidadian politician and former minister Keith Rowley has expressed his deep rejection of Kamala Persad Pisesar's decision, describing it as grave and dangerous and irresponsible. The former prime minister gave a detailed account of how he and other Caribbean leaders have maintained a firm stance against the interference of powers in the region.
I am so disturbed about this. You will recall, not too long ago, there was a situation where the United States government led arguments, OAS and the European Union, about regime change in Venezuela. And it got very heated, and it got to the point where people were expecting physical action. The European Union had given Maduro 8 days to leave office. The Canadians had said to us in CARICOM, time for talk over. And our question was, time for what now? And of course, the United States had its view on Venezuela. And the details, you carried it in your media, you know all about it. How did Trinidad and Tobago react to that situation? Trinidad and Tobago, as a leader in CARICOM on that matter, took a leadership role to preserve the Caribbean as a zone of peace. And we headed to New York. The Prime Minister of Barbados and myself, we went to the office of the Secretary General of the United Nations to take a different position on the Venezuelan issue.
And in Venezuela, a survey revealed that Leopoldo Lopez, a far-right fugitive from justice for the past 5 years, is considered the most unpopular political leader in the country. According to the results of the survey conducted by the firm Interlaces, 22% of those surveyed expressed an unfavorable opinion about the leadership and political performance of Leopoldo Lopez. The nationwide study was conducted based on 1,200 interviews and has a margin of error of approximately 3%. The firm Interlaces specified that the data is part of its monthly monitoring of public opinion and analysis of social political trends, as well as evaluation of public figures. And Guatemalan President Bernardo Arevalo denounced an attempted coup in the country and blamed the criminal alliance that exists in the public prosecutor's office and the judicial system. Surrounded by his government team and several legislators, Arevalo addressed the country to denounce attempts to annul his mandate. He pointed the finger at Attorney General Consuelo Porras and criminal judge Freddy Orellana, who he described as judicial hitmen. The president assured that he will go to the Organization of American States to formalize the complaint and call for national unity, while also calling on the international community to consolidate an alliance in defense of democracy.
Guatemaltecas, les habla su presidente.
Guatemalans, your president speaks to you. In recent days, the criminal alliance entrenched in the public prosecutor's office and in certain areas of the justice system has once again attempted to plunge our country into authoritarianism, corruption, and impunity. Judge Freddy Orellana, a hitman who twists the laws in the service of Consuelo Porras, tried to force the Supreme Electoral Tribunal to distort the results of the 2023 elections. This led to the unconstitutional removal of a mayor, 23 deputies elected by the Semilla movement, the vice president of the republic, and its president. Porras, Orellana, and their other pathetic conspirators have created a climate of terror to pave the way for themselves and destroy our country.
Un contexto de terror para abrirse camino y hundir a nuestro país.
And the Brazilian government stated that between January and August this year, soybean exports to China reached a value of 77 million metric tons amid the tariff war imposed by the United States. Experts point out that since the start of the tariff war declared on several countries by the Trump administration, the trade in grains and legumes between Brazil and the Asian giant has experienced a notable increase. Livio Ribeiro, associate researcher at the IBRE Study Center of the Getulio Vargas Foundation and the University of Rio de Janeiro, states that at this time of year, Brazilian soybeans become one of the main items of trade between both nations. Cooperation between the two countries in the face of U.S. sanctions demonstrates their willingness to develop ties independent of the United States hegemony.
Vai comprar dos Estados Unidos por conta de preço.
China won't buy from the United States due to the price. Since it's more expensive there, this tariff barrier opens an opportunity for us here. So we must be very attentive to these moments. We should try to make future sales for the delivery of the next harvest, taking advantage of these moments when we have a good price. Unfortunately, today we are in a situation where the price has not yet reached this result for us, producers, but it should arrive at any moment.
Certo? Mas ele deve chegar a qualquer momento. E a China não vai comprar.
And in Mexico, thousands of people in vibrant costumes and skull-like makeup gathered for Mexico City's annual Catrinas Parade, a tribute to one of the country's most iconic symbols of the Day of the Dead. The mega procession of Catrinas has been held in Mexico City since 2014 and has established itself as one of the most emblematic celebrations of the Day of the Dead, bringing together thousands of participants and spectators every year to pay tribute to this iconic figure of Mexican culture. Traditionally, the Catrina is a skeleton often dressed in elegant clothing that has turned into a symbol of the country's annual celebration. The official holiday will begin on October 31st, remembering those who died in accidents. It will continue on November 1st to recall those who died in childhood, and then on November 2nd, we'll celebrate those who died as adults.
Desfile como este, definitivamente.
A parade like this can definitely show part of the essence of being Mexican, which is joyful, colorful, maximalist, kind, loving, fun, talented, very talented. Here is full of talent, and, well, I think that is our essence.
Talento, y pues yo creo que esa es nuestra esencia.
Es una tradición muy hermosa. It is a very beautiful tradition. It is something that makes us Mexico. It makes us a country with many traditions and customs, which we should not lose, and we should continue to have them year after year. It is a very beautiful experience.
Teniendo año con año. Es una experiencia muy bonita.
And now we have a short break coming up. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. On Sunday, in the capital city of Victoria, Patrick Herminy was sworn in as the head of state of the Republic of Seychelles. The day was accompanied by popular celebrations, and Monday was declared a national holiday by the outgoing government in recognition of the transfer of power. Seasoned public servant and former medical doctor, the 62-year-old Herminy won the presidency in the second round of voting with 52.7% of the votes, as announced by the Electoral Commission of Seychelles on October 12. Representing the United Seychelles Party, Herminy previously served as Speaker of the National Assembly from 2007 to 2016. During the inauguration, the new president vowed to unite the nation, improve the quality of life for citizens through pragmatic policies, and pursue a path of sustainable development for the island nation. And on Sunday, Cuban Prime Minister Manuel Marrero Cruz arrived in Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, where he was received by Prince Mohammed bin Salman during a meeting in State Protocol Room. The Cuban diplomat thanked the country for its support in developing key social programs and in the fight against the blockade imposed by the United States against Cuba. The Cuban delegation will participate in the 9th Future Investment Initiative Conference, which will bring together more than 5,000 leaders from 90 countries in the Saudi Arabian capital from October 27th to the 30th. In addition, Marrero Cruz will hold bilateral meetings with senior Saudi authorities in a context of growing cooperation between the two countries in areas such as trade, health, culture, and financing for development. Hurricane Melissa remains a Category 4 storm as it moves through the Central Caribbean Sea toward Jamaica and Cuba. In this regard, according to the latest report, Melissa has maximum sustained winds of 239 kilometers per hour, while its central pressure has reportedly decreased. The hurricane, which is traveling westward at just 7 kilometers per hour, is expected to move near or over Jamaica early on Tuesday before traversing Cuba into the southeastern Bahamas during the course of Wednesday. In this context, in Jamaica, several coastal areas have been put under evacuation orders, while the international airport in Kingston closed late on Saturday along with all seaports. Melissa is the 13th named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season, and it is forecast that in the next 24 hours, Melissa could become a Category 5 hurricane. And in Cuba, the power company reinforced its infrastructure in the eastern region ahead of Hurricane Melissa's arrival. The company's director, Javier Calero Roman, explained that the stability of solar panels is ensured both in parks that are already operational and those that are under construction, with protective slings, structural reinforcements, and the inspection of foundations. Also, pruning work has been carried out in risk areas to prevent damage to poles and cables. The power company also urged the public to exercise caution around falling cables or transformers and to monitor the equipment. In other topics, at least 4 people have been killed in Cameroon's largest city, Douala, as police and opposition protesters clashed ahead of the announcement of presidential election results. The clashes occurred after hundreds of supporters of opposition candidate Issa Chiroma, who claims to have defeated President Paul Biya in the recent elections, defied the ban on protests and gathered in the streets of Douala. The protesters blocked roads, burned tires, and threw rocks and other projectiles at police in response to the repressive and silencing policies carried out by police forces in the face of the peaceful beginnings of the demonstration. The Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atangani, said on Saturday that arrests had been made in connection with what he described as an insurrectional movement, although he did not specify how many people had been arrested. We have a second break coming up before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. The final break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Jordan, the 14th group of patients from the Gaza Strip arrived on Sunday under the Jordanian Medical Corridor Initiative. This latest group includes 34 patients and 78 companions who will receive treatment in Jordanian hospitals before returning to Gaza once their care is complete. The initiative, launched in March, aims to support Palestinians and ease their humanitarian suffering. Since its launch, Jordan has received 266 patients for medical treatment. In February, King Abdullah II announced that Jordan was ready to receive up to 2,000 Palestinian patients from Gaza for treatment.
My leg was blown off. It happened while I was fleeing. My house was also destroyed in the war.
جوار الدفاع المدني هدمت داري 8 شقق دارين مش دار واحدة.
Both of my houses are gone. 18 members of my family were killed, including my children and grandchildren.
شهيد من ولادي وولاد ولادي وظل بنتين وراء واحدة أكلت في عينيها شظايا.
Only 2 of my granddaughters survived. One was hit in the head by shrapnel. She was gravely injured and lost her sight.
وهذيك فيها شظية في عينها.
Despite multiple violations by Israel, the agreement organized by U.S. President Donald Trump remains in force in the Gaza Strip, but experts in Turkey have criticized everything from participation in the conference to the content of the agreement and its regional implications. Details from a correspondent in Istanbul, Yunus Soner.
Negotiations began when Israel failed to achieve its objectives, explains Alptek Endersenoglu, an expert from the resistance axis.
Since October 7th, Israel has had 3 objectives: to free the hostages, destroy Hamas military infrastructure, and establish its order in Gaza. Despite 2 years of genocide and Western support, they have not achieved this. Now they are seeking to achieve it with this and the so-called Trump plan.
The negotiation process, first in Washington, and then in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, has a global context.
With the start of the war in 2023, China, Russia, and Iran took the initiative. China was mediating between Palestinian groups and even expressed its support for Yemen. Iran itself fought Israel in the 12-day war. Now we see that the West and Israel are purposely excluding these powers from the negotiations. Therefore, we see that Trump's peace plan is entirely built on the framework of Atlantic plans.
The 20 points announced by Trump are, therefore, a plan to eliminate the Palestinian cause, argues Gökhan Göçmen.
The root of the conflict lies in the two-state solution, that is, the establishment of a sovereign and independent Palestinian state. Nothing is said about a Palestinian state in this plan.
Göçmen emphasizes that Jared Kushner, married to Trump's daughter, was one of the authors of the plan. Beyond Gaza, Kushner supports Israel's annexation of the West Bank and is investing there.
As a result, Trump's plan eliminates Palestinian actors, disarming Hamas and excluding it from any political process. Under the guise of the Peace Council, whose members will be appointed outside of Palestinian will, Mahmoud Abbas' administration will be given only the role of coordinating the Palestinian people within this council. The will of the Palestinian people will be ignored, leaving them without a state.
Experts have doubts about whether Hamas will lay down its arms, but they are certain that this so-called Pax Americana is only the precursor to new wars.
Israel may attack Lebanon. In recent days, tensions have increased very openly. They have just finished maneuvers on the border. For a ground operation that reaches the Litani River in Lebanon, they have to end the war in Gaza and move forces from there.
The expert also warns of possible Israeli attacks against the resistance in Iraq, or directly against Iran. Perinchek places Trump's agreement in a regional context.
We see that the United States is seeking to regain the regional initiative. It has launched the so-called Trump route in the South Caucasus and is seeking to redesign Syria. We are facing a plan by which the United States wants to reorder an entire geography. But we are in transition to a multipolar world, where the United States and Israel lack the power to carry out all their plans.
Experts consider that Trump's plan has many weak points, and agree that, for a Palestinian state, Eurasian influence will be key instead of this plan.
Yunus Soner, teleSUR, Istanbul, Turkey.
And a photo exhibition in Brussels is drawing attention to the dire conditions faced by children in Gaza, with graphic images and soul-stirring sounds that have left visitors heart-wrenching. Let's see more.
The exhibition, organized jointly by the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, the European Union, and the Belgian authorities, aims to draw more attention to the children of the Gaza Strip during the current conflict. Beyond the visuals, the exhibition includes audio recordings from Gaza, such as the clatter of pots and pans as children queue for food, immersing visitors in the harsh reality faced by children in Gaza.
I think it's very terrible. You see that people are suffering, and I think the world is not looking to all the pain they have. And I think the whole world has to support Palestine. We all have to do something for the people there.
As today, the ceasefire in the Gaza Strip is increasingly fragile, as it remains difficult to deliver large volumes of humanitarian aid, and the humanitarian crisis on the ground remains severe. According to recent data from the Palestinian Ministry of Health in the Gaza Strip, the number of deaths since the start of Israeli attacks on October 7, 2023, has risen to 68,234.
With this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.